Hey, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, or Pajama Grandma, in my pajamas, of course, with my daily scare share. Today's daily scare share from Do One Thing a Day That Scares You. I've had this book on my bookshelf a couple of years now and have been challenged by my beautiful daughter to get out of my rut because, you know, some of us as we get older, we get into ruts and ways of behaving that aren't necessarily in our life's best interest. And my rut's just pretty much a hermit boring rut. It's not a bad rut, it's just really, really boring. So she challenged me to do one thing a day that scares me. And in order to hold myself accountable, I decided I would really be brave because this is scary, of course, and I would get on Facebook Live and do my one thing a day that scares me. Commit to all of you about what I'm going to do or what I've done with respect to whatever the day's challenge is. Some days there's a saying, some days there's a graphic or a picture, some days there's just nothing, and those are the really scary days, the ones where they just have blank lines and they say, go figure it out. Some of those are the hardest ones for me because then I don't have any guidance, and it's always easier if we have a little bit of guidance or a little bit of help or something to stimulate our thinking. So on those days, what I've started doing to make it easier on myself is I will go in search of my own saying or my own little trigger to help me think of something to be more courageous, to be more brave, to stretch my comfort zone and just get out of the freaking box that I've created for myself. So today's is a saying day, which, you know, I love those because I don't have to think so hard. And I like to think, but some days we're all lazy and I just like to have a little bit of help stretching my comfort zone without having to figure it out all by myself. So today's is actually one of my favorite sayings. I had to get out my magnifying glass to read it, of course, because the writing, the font's a little different. And we know I have eye challenges, but I still keep going because what's the alternative? So today it says, 2 roads diverged in a wood and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. Robert Frost. And actually that is one of my favorite sayings, and I like to think it's how I've lived my life, or how I live my life now. Let's be honest, it isn't how I always lived my life. I got inundated and sidetracked for decades doing what I thought I should do, doing what I thought other people expected of me, and that didn't work out so well. I actually had a sudden cardiac arrest from the stress of trying to be something that I didn't love, that didn't match who I really am, that was actually soul-sucking and made me so unhappy that my subconscious mind decided I would be better off dead. Now, fortunately for me, I decided differently because I was given that option and that choice, and I am still here today to chat with you about things that scare me. Yet, with all that I have known and learned over the years, I still ended up in a rut. How many of us still end up where we don't want to be because even though we know we're being influenced and manipulated, in a lot of cases we're being manipulated and controlled, how many of us still end up where we don't really want to be? And that's what this challenge is all about today. It's all about, you know, what is the road that you've taken, or what is the road not taken, and then what is the road taken are the two fill-in-the-blank things today. So I can think of lots of examples of this for me, but let's go with career because it's less emotionally raw and it's less scary to share. I don't have to be as vulnerable to talk about the career choices I've made as I do, say, for example, the relationship choices I've made. I'm divorced, so obviously I effed up that, right? And so I don't really want to talk about that stuff, but I will think about it with respect to this challenge because that's obviously, since I don't want to talk about it, that's obviously something that I personally need to continue to work on and grow to just, you know, learn from so that I don't make the same mistake again in the future. So today, let's talk about my career. What's the road not taken? Well, the road not taken is I didn't know that when I was younger, and people tell you, but you don't believe it. And we make choices in our career. So for example, when I was going off to college, I started out in journalism school because I was a journalist in high school and I loved writing. And I thought, okay, I'll be a journalist. Now today, I thank goodness that I'm not a journalist because I I think that the level of respect that journalists now have is right up there with used car salesmen. And they have no reputation. There's no such thing as ethics or truth in reporting, which is what I was trained on, because I went to journalism school back when journalism was still a noble profession, and there was some ethics and some morals and some values involved in that field of endeavor. So I started out in journalism school, but I changed my mind in my major, like a lot of college students, I don't know, about 6 times throughout my college career. And I actually ended up being and studying engineering. So I'm actually I'm a pretty big nerd. I'm an engineer. I have an engineering, marketing, and a management degree. I went to college a long time. I really liked college. And I had some health challenges along the way, which stretched out my college years and transferred a bunch of colleges. And that meant I had a whole lot of extra credits. So when it came time to graduate, I kind of hodgepodged everything together. And it turns out I had 3 majors. I had enough credits for 3 majors, which is pretty ridiculous. But it's made it so that I don't feel like I ever have to go back to college to get a higher education degree, like a PhD or anything. Although Dr. Horne would have been cool. My uncle's a veterinarian, and I always thought Dr. Horne was a cool name. So anyway, the road taken. So I did the traditional, go to college, get a corporate career, spend a couple of decades in corporate America, and I grew up believing and thinking that that was the model to follow. Now, unfortunately, that model was dead probably about 20 years before I even entered college, and it's even more dead today. So I decided along the way, as I was working in corporate America, to actually have businesses on the side and do the entrepreneurial route, which was more in line with my heart and my soul and things I wanted to do. I always wanted to have my own manufacturing business, which is part of why I wanted the engineering, marketing, and management degree. So that is the road I have taken. Now, the road not taken is, the road I took was the corporate and then entrepreneurial. Now, the problem with that is I still got influence and got involved in businesses that didn't match my core beliefs and my core values. I did a lot of real estate for several years, and being a real estate agent and a real estate broker and dealing with foreclosures and short sales did not match my core values. And that was soul-sucking work for me. Also got involved in the liquor industry and bars and restaurants. Again, love them, love serving people, but the politics around liquor licenses in the town I grew up in suck. And that, again, was soul-sucking. So now I like to think I'm on the right track. I love being a pajama grandma. I love working from home and coaching other people. And I actually finally feel like what I'm doing matches my heart. And so that is my story and my example of the road not taken and the road taken. So think about your life today. And pick just one area like I did, because if I think about all the areas of my life, of course, I can think of examples where an opportunity was opened up to me and I didn't take it for whatever reason at the time. At the time, not taking it was 100% the right decision for me. And we look back at things and we try to judge them and say, oh, if only I'd done that. But the fact and the truth is, you didn't do it because it wasn't right for you at that time. Who you were, who I was at the time I made each decision in my past was who I was. And the decision I've always made, even if it's proven to be a wrong decision down the road, it was the best decision I could make given what I knew at the time that I made that decision. That's why it doesn't do any good to beat yourself up for the past. I mean, we always do the best we can at the moment that we're living in. And it's only the future and when we look back on the past that we can judge whether that was a good or bad decision for us. Lesson learned. And even our bad decisions, guess what? I learned way more from my bad decisions and my bad choices and the mistakes I made than I ever learn from the things I do right or the successes I have. Yeah, success is fun, but it doesn't last very long. Failure, man, that's where the lesson is. That's where the growth is. That's where the personal development comes. And believe me, those things stick with you and you learn from them so much more powerfully than you do the successes that you accumulate in your life. So go out, make it an awesome day. Don't be scared. get out of your rut with me and join me in this daily challenge. I would love to have you come along and stretch your comfort zone every day with me so then I know I'm not doing it all by myself. Go out, make an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow with day 66 of the Do One Thing a Day That Scares Me Daily Scare Share. Bye.